Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen demands I buy her partner a birthday present. After that, don't want to let me train a replacement before I leave? Okay. And after that, am I the jerk for not changing my baby's name again? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get a birthday present. I'll tell you what I really want is a new husband. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen demands I buy her partner a birthday present. I, 26 female, have a group of 6 friends whom I've known since high school. For the last 12 years, we've given each other group gifts for our birthdays with a budget of around $20. We've maintained this budget all this time. Last year, one of my friends, Alice, got a girlfriend, Leah. I've only met her twice, but I'll admit that I don't like her. We just don't click. Despite this, I've always tried to be nice and welcoming to her. Last month, I suddenly got added to a group chat to discuss what we were going to buy Leah for her birthday. And this bothered me because A, no one had asked me if I wanted to participate or not in the present, and B, we've never given any of our partners any kind of present. I guess they've all become good friends during this past year. But to avoid drama, I decided to just shut up and give the $3 that it was going to cost me. Just not worth any argument. My friends asked Alice what kind of present would Leah like, and she said, I don't know what our budget is, but she would love to have this book. Then proceeded to show us a $60 book. This angered me quite a bit. For 12 years, our budget has been $20, and suddenly, you don't know if a $60 book exceeds the budget? She said that, if that's too much, I can pay a bit more to compensate. But I know her, and she's always been quite stingy, even though money is not a problem for her or her family. It was obvious that she wanted to buy that book for Leah, but she didn't want to expend the money herself and wanted to trick us into buying it for her. I said that I was okay with buying the book, as long as we paid $20 and she paid the other $40, because it was just not fair for the rest of us who had a $20 gift. A few of my friends agreed with me. She then said that, well, we can always choose another gift, and proceeded to suggest a few other things, all in the $20 budget. So it was obvious that she wasn't going to put more money to buy the book. A few days later, she suggested buying the book again, this time saying that she really didn't have much money at the moment, but that Leah would love it so much, she deserved to have it, etc. That she will make an effort and pay for it and all of that. My friends pitied her and decided that we should buy it and that we will share the expenses, that it was not fair for her to pay more. I said that what was not fair was to expend so much money on a present, especially when none of our partners have ever gotten a present. They all said that they didn't mind, and I answered that in that case, I wasn't going to participate in the present. I left the group chat and didn't want to know anything else about it. A few of my friends told me that I was insensitive and too harsh, and that I was doing this because I don't like Leah, which is true, I don't like her. But in this case, I feel like I was just trying to be fair, and if the budget would have been $20, I would not have said anything. So, am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her friends? Please let us know. Might be time to find some new friends, OP. Never understood how friends can feel entitled to your money. Don't want to let me train a replacement before I leave? Okay. I used to work as the dedicated inventory guy for a tire and wheel store that dealt in only that. Big chain. All the guys wear black, not by choice, even on the most blistering of days. Nearly 10 years working there, and I was the only one handling their 5,000 to 7,500 tires, along with several hundreds wheels, nuts, bolts, tire lube, replacement parts. Basically, I organized the entire store in terms of what was bought, sold, and used. I received most shipments, whether a single tire by FedEx, or our 2 times a week shipment of 400 to 800 units. Not something I knew for a long time, but my technical job was listed as a 3-person rotating task. I did it all myself. The manager I worked with for most of those 10 years was very happy and supportive of me, trying to make sure I was taken care of if I needed help. Unfortunately, the company underwent plenty of changes after the owner of the whole chain passed. It shifted from a family thing to a profit and micromanagement thing. My great manager was stressed and went from great to not so great. I won't deny I got pretty upset with a few things from him, but it was just the situation didn't favor him. Ultimately, he was transferred to an administrative position to finish out till retirement, and we got a new manager and lots of extra salary salesmen. I was left on inventory, as everyone confirmed I was the only guy for the job that knew anything. They tried giving me newbies to learn the ropes, but I only got a couple days with them before they were pulled for more important things. Eventually, they gave up caring and figured I would do inventory for the foreseeable future. Well, the end of 2018 came with me looking for other opportunities. It wasn't entirely because of the shift at work, but doing a 3-person job after 10 years was starting to take its toll on my back. I started about 20 and was getting close to 30. I can't deny I was getting kind of scared I would do something irreparable to my back that would stick with me forever. They pulled equipment I needed to do better without straining myself more, made the process of pulling inventory more bureaucratic and lengthy without need for it, and would keep trying to limit my time doing things but expect the same results. They also kept resisting my plans to reorganize stock because brands don't always need the same amount of space. That major brand did really well there 3 years ago, and taking up 1,000 tires worth of space only takes up 400 now. But hey, I have this brand that did an overhaul, and we used to carry barely 250 for them. Now, we are ordering hundreds of them weekly with a need for 750 units of space. So there's stock unable to fit in one place, but a huge gap in another I can fill. I'm sure some of you can understand. You don't just start shoving items from the wrong brand into a gap because there's space there, use it. As I'm in the final weeks of my lovely tenure there, I've been training for the new job for about 6 weeks. They had plenty of warning to replace my position. I reminded them they should find someone I can give the rundown to before it's too late. My new management, as well as 2 salesmen I never liked, tell me in very businessy and polite terms, just do your job and let us worry about it. I tried to be nice about it because while I don't get on well with the salesmen, except one, he was always great, and I love my fellow service techs in the back getting dirty on every car, though the heat of summer and getting our legs turned almost blue when working in the freezing snow and slush of the winter. I then realized that it really is their problem, not mine. Cue the malicious compliance. I found a lovely time when all 3 of my most concerning resistors were away. 2 were on meetings with corporate for 2 to 3 days. 1 was on vacation for the rest of the week. This was great as it was my last week as well. I hauled all kinds of stuff that week. I reorganized the whole place to my OCD specs. I wanted everything to fit. I wanted everything perfectly presentable. I did it my way and got everything in. To note, some years, especially in peak winter with lots coming in, we got so overstocked we couldn't fit everything all at once, which was also because of them not letting me deal with it efficiently. I took care of that overstock and fit it all in. Brands were moved and notes left. I let all my favorite coworkers who pulled my inventory the most know what's up. They adapted instantly because it's really not that hard. Just remember the salt is in the pantry now, not next to the stove. I was commended on my effort and thanked for doing that before leaving. However, I knew what was coming. No, not from the guys who didn't want my organization methods. By not replacing me, or at least covering what I've been doing for 10 years, well, imagine it like giving someone a nice, clean, and well-working car that they never maintain because it was always taken care of. Yeah, I started my new job and got paid almost double. A couple months in, and I start getting calls from former coworkers. Apparently, they never really tried to replace me at all. Things fell apart. Tires were shoved into the racks with no regard for where they belonged. If there was space, fill it. After 3 months, I heard 3 longtime employees walked out because the lack of organization was destroying their bay times for dealing with cars, leading to a domino fall of stressful work environment stuff. It took an average of 15 minutes at our store to deal with most things on one car. However, I was told it was taking that long just to find the units needed after pulling the car in. Heck, sometimes they gave up and tried to huff it to another nearby store to find their tires, thinking they had an inventory error. Obviously, that level of delay and inefficiency made the managers angry at those they blamed. Service techs usually got the heat. I wish I could say there was more juicy details about the aftermath, but at a certain point, all my ears in that store fell. I feel like that's enough said in and of itself. One bit that came about the 4 or 5 months mark after I left though, one of the managers called me on my personal phone. They asked how I was doing and wondered if my new job was working out. I was very happy and energetically told them how great I felt in my new job. He inquired whether I might be interested in helping out at the store again. I declined. Now, I'm not the best at reading people, but this person seemed so lost in their tone that I can only guess they had so little luck in finding another replacement for what I did. I'm far more appreciated now in my new job. The thing that made me feel a little bad, but also goodish, is that my former coworkers agreed that when I left was when things started to get terrible. It probably didn't hurt that I was the insatiable goof of the store too, who told so many bad puns. Have you ever felt unappreciated at your job? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. I feel unappreciated every day. This channel should be named Miss Karen. Am I the jerk for not changing my baby's name again? All names are fake. I have a 9-year-old daughter and another on the way. I had 2 grandmothers, Annie and Rose. I named my oldest Annabelle after Nanny Annie, whose full name was also Annabelle. I did not name her after Nana Rose, as at the time she was born, Nana Rose was still with us. When I found out I was pregnant with a second, I decided to name her after Nana Rose, who passed in 2017. My sister, Lucy, got pregnant about 5 months before me. She says that she wants to name her baby Rose after Nana Rose. I say our kids can share the name. She says I already have Annabelle, and I could have named her Annabelle Rose or something, but passed up the chance, so I can't also have Rose. I figure this is not the hill to die on, so I say I'll look for something else, but reserve the right to use Rose. I then crack open a baby book, and a few entries after Rose is Rosalie. It's perfect, honors Nana Rose, doesn't upset Lucy, and my boyfriend loves it. Lucy finds out the new name and says it's lovely and she approves, which annoys me, but I say nothing. This all takes place in the 8th month of her pregnancy, 3rd month of mine, so I don't even know the gender yet, and this is all hypothetical. A couple of weeks later, Lucy gives birth. A few days ago, about a month after birth, she announces that her daughter's name is Rosalie. At this point, I'm really annoyed because I went to great lengths to leave the name Rose available, and she's nicked my choice. Mom calls me to say she knew what Lucy was planning and she hopes I'm not upset, because this means I can now name my incoming daughter Rose. Except I'm now attached to Rosalie. I tell Mom that I'm sticking with Rosalie. She says Lucy has Rosalie. I say there's going to be 2 Rosalies in the family. She says this is impractical as both Rosalies will have the same surname. Sister is a single mom, boyfriend is taking my name, and they will likely be in the same school and year group, so this will cause all manner of issues. I say if it's going to be an issue, then I'll deal with it if and when it comes up. Lucy then calls me, calling me an inconsiderate jerk, and says I'm being petty, that I don't have a monopoly on the name, and that she can name her kid what she likes. I said that's all true, so by that same logic, I can use Rosalie. She says there can't be 2 Rosalies, as it'll cause problems, and I say she's the one who has a problem with it, so she can change her kid's name or can deal with it. She again called me an inconsiderate, spiteful jerk and hung up. Mom, Dad, and brother all side with Lucy. Am I the jerk? Edit. I appreciate the alternate name suggestions that stem from Rose, and I do find reading them interesting. But I did say that all names are fake, so, in the nicest way possible, Rose-inspired names aren't really helping me. Also, it has been confirmed I'm having a girl. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister? Please let us know. I wish that OP had never given in to her sister's demands in the first place. You give a Karen an inch, they'll take a mile. Make a mess of my car? Get messy yourself. I was on my way home after a very long day working at the hospital. As much as I would have rather just kept driving, the gas light blazing away on my dash told me to stop being lazy and just fill the tank. After hopping off the highway, I head for the small station I frequently use. It only has 2 pumps, both sides, so 4 spots. Even though it has great prices, I rarely have to wait more than a car or 2 for an open spot. Other than the station, the road is pretty much empty nearby. The station was on my side of the road, so I turned on my right-hand directional. As I begin to turn the wheel into the station, this lunatic in a Mercedes comes from the other direction, sliced through the out lane and inches across my front bumper to beat me into the parking lot. I slammed on my brakes, sending my gym bag and a stack of folders shooting off the passenger seat into jumbled messes on the floor. I'm not a big swear, but that had me sounding like a sailor. As I pulled in, I noticed a police car in a parking spot outside the building that houses the cashier and the tiny convenience store. My hopes rose as I prayed the officer saw the crazy lady's stunt and I was about to witness instant karma. No such luck. She pulled to one side of the pumps. I pulled to the other. I got out, swiped my card, and started the gas flowing. Then, clear as a bell, I hear the snottiest sounding voice issuing from the Mercedes. "This is unbelievable. I was clearly here first, but this idiot is filling up the other car first. No, he hasn't even started me yet. I swear these people are stupid out here. Hold on, Shelley. I have to deal with this moron, or I will be here all day." Now the dreaded, "Excuse me," is aimed right at me. "You know you don't need to wait for the tank to be full before you start another car. Now come here and take this," she said, waggling a credit card at me. "If I'm late because of you, I will be calling your boss. And just so you know, it is very rude to service customers out of order. I was here ahead of that guy." I looked down, and sure enough, she has a New Jersey license plate. In New Jersey, you don't pump your own gas. An attendant does it for you. My state may have a few full-service stations left, but honestly, I haven't seen one in ages. Here, you pump for yourself. If she had gotten out of the car, she would have seen I was that guy, but the pump blocked her line of sight. I considered an "I don't work here, lady" style response, but the primped-up entitled expression on this self-absorbent jerk required more from me. She stared harder at me, raising her brows, and waggled her card even more emphatically. Before I knew what to do, I let go of my pump, stepped closer, and took the card from her manicured fingers. As she sneered at me, I looked her right in the eyes and snapped my hand downward, flicking her card straight into the trash barrel beside the pump. Someone must have thrown a slushie or milkshake in there, because the card made an awesome splat sound when it hit the bottom. The harpy shrill screech that ensued made the thought of sorting out all of the files on the floor of my car almost worth it. It could have stopped there, and I would have happily driven away with my half-full tank, but it was not over yet. She was screaming at me as I turned away, broiling out the Mercedes in her designer outfit, completely losing her mind. That was when the officer came dashing out of the store. "Excuse me, miss. Are you all right? What's going on here?" "This man assaulted me and stole my card. He threw it in there," she says, pointing a 3-inch long nail at the barrel. "Is that correct, sir?" Barely. She insisted, and I mean insisted, I take her card. Since I am under no obligation to provide her service with a card, nor did I want it, I disposed of it in the most expedient manner available to me. I replied, gesturing at the wonderful trash receptacle myself. "That was a pretty petty thing to do. I think you should get it for her," the officer decreed. The New Jersey jerk was beaming with smug malice at that. "I will, under one condition. You detain us both, then go look at the store's parking lot camera. Once you see how we enter the lot, you can decide who goes dumpster diving." He raised a brow at me, but says, "Fine." He takes our licenses and tells us both to wait there. She's a bit perplexed at first, but her natural entitlement must have convinced her she has to be in the right. It's not long before she began to hiss a handful of pretty vile threats at me. I ignored her and finished filling my tank. My passive smiling confidence must have unnerved her eventually. She crept back into the driver's seat and began talking about lawyers with Shelley. About 20 minutes later, the officer returned. He handed me back my license and told me that I was free to go. Before New Jersey can get a word out, he very sternly rounds on her and said, "Registration, ma'am." That made cleaning up her mess totally worth it. Am I the jerk for cutting my wife off from assets? Technically, my wife and I are still married. We've been separated for almost a year, but neither of us has filed for divorce yet. Last spring, when lockdown first got bad, both of my adult kids lost their jobs and couldn't make rent, so I offered for them to stay with us until they got back on their feet. This caused a lot of stress for everyone involved. I work 45 to 50 hours a week in a manufacturing job, while my wife has not worked in nearly a decade. This was completely her choice, as she has never liked working. Who does? And she wanted to pursue making income on Etsy and other similar sites. So when my son and daughter came to stay with us, our house became much more crowded than usual. Since my wife stays at home all day, she felt that my kids were invading her space and wanted them out pretty much immediately. She felt I was enabling them by letting them come stay with us and that we should let them sink or swim on their own. I told her that I couldn't let my kids suffer when I was in a position to help. After only a few weeks, crap hits the fan. My wife had blown up at both my son and daughter because she felt they weren't pulling their weight in our house. She started giving them chore lists and would get angry when all of the things weren't done. My kids were both looking for work, and dealing with unemployment offices and doing housework took a back seat to those things, rightfully so in my mind. I came home from work one day to find my wife screaming like a banshee at my son. When I walked in, my wife immediately turned her ire to me and told me that if I didn't kick my kids out right away, then she was leaving. So I told her my kids were staying, and she packed her stuff and called her sister to pick her up. Wife also doesn't drive. Since then, we have barely spoken. She won't answer my calls and will respond to pretty much every text with, "Unless your kids are gone, we have nothing to talk about." Mind you, my daughter moved out during the winter after finding a new job, and my son has been working part-time for 6 months while looking for full-time work and saving money to move out. My wife didn't even tell me when her dad passed earlier this year. I had to find out on Facebook. When I tried to call her, she wouldn't answer and ignored all of my texts too. Since it has become painfully obvious to me that this relationship is over, I decided to finally file for divorce. However, as soon as my wife was served the papers, she flipped out on me. She's upset that I cut off her access to our shared checking account and was upset that she will no longer have access to health insurance through my employer. She's called me a jerk more times than I can count, and her siblings have joined the choir on that refrain now too. I do feel bad that this is going to make her life more difficult, but I no longer feel it's my obligation to provide for her when she clearly wants nothing to do with me. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. And that is why you never marry a Karen. I'm sorry you're lonely, but we shouldn't have to suffer for it. It's Christmas Eve, and I work at a small family-owned Italian restaurant in a small city. We close at 4:30 to allow everyone time to be home with their families because most of us have kids, and the boss man is good about stuff like that. Cue the lonely odd regular. She's not a mean lady, but she's certainly different. I've had to ask her to put her shoes back on several times. She regularly told me about her bowel movements, that kind of regular. She comes in around 3. Now I know she always stays a while, but I don't think anything of it as we don't close for another hour and a half. At 4, I drop off her check and start my cleanup as she and one other table are left and I'm not seating anymore. 4:15, second table leaves, wishes me a Merry Christmas and leaves me a banging tip, so I'm in great spirits. 4:30, I'm already pretty much done with my cleaning, lady is done with her food, and I have all her dishes but her teacup. I tell the back it's no biggie if they bounce, there's only one dish. Now it's only me, the closing manager, and my husband, who happens to be the GM. I check on her and drop a subtle, "Man, can't wait to get home. It's been crazy busy. I'm dead on my feet." She laughs and excuses herself to the bathroom. 4:45, she's still in there. I'm getting a little stir-crazy, but it's not bad yet. Me and the guys are just messing around in the back. 4:50, she emerges. Instead of getting ready to leave, she settles in and starts sipping her tea and reading her book. Now I'm getting mad. I go to her table and check the bill. Nothing. I gently remind her that we closed 20 minutes ago, and she scoffs at me as if I'm rushing her. 5. Hubby is upset at this point and shuts off the music and dims the lights. I go to her table again, and she's visibly angry. Here's how the conversation went. We've got me, we've got hubby, and we've got Karen. Karen: "Excuse me? I wasn't ready to leave yet. I don't understand why you guys are closing up." Me: "I'm sorry, ma'am, but you've been here for 2 hours. You finished eating over an hour ago, and we've been closed for half an hour. Most of our staff is gone, and the rest would like to get home to our families. I apologize, but we are officially closed and would appreciate if you settled your tab." "This is your job. You're required to stay open until I am ready to leave. I don't care about your stupid family and your plans. What about people like me who don't have anywhere to go?" Me: "I'm sorry about that. There are other places open though if you'd like." "I want to stay here." She's irate now. My husband hears the screaming and rounds the corner, placing himself in between me and the woman who's now screaming and stomping her foot like a petulant child. Hubby: "Pay your bill and leave now." "Who the heck do you think you are? I'm the darn customer, and I can stay as long as I like." Hubby: "I'm management, and I'm telling you to leave. Go now." "This is BS. I'm in here several times a week, and I've never been kicked out. I'll never come back again." She slams her money down on the table and gets right in my husband's face. I'll have your job for this jerk, and that stupid jerk behind you too. At this point, I'm floored. She's never behaved like this before. She was always off though, so I wasn't totally shocked. I get the holidays can be rough for some, but don't try to ruin mine as well. Hubby, in a shockingly calm voice. After your behavior today, we don't want you back. Gather your things and exit the restaurant before I call the cops. You're no longer welcome in this establishment. She stood there, her mouth hanging open for a solid 30 seconds before she finally understood. You can't do that. I know the owner personally. She didn't. I'm gonna have both of you jerks fired. This is unacceptable. I had went to my area and grabbed my phone. I make sure I'm close enough for her to hear. Me. Yes, this is the non-emergency police line, yes? I need a patron removed from our restaurant. No, there's no physical threat, but she's refusing to leave. Karen. Forget this. I'm leaving. Just you wait. I'll have your jobs. She proceeds to storm out, accidentally knocking her teacup over with her purse as she leaves. We didn't get home until 6 p.m., but we managed to have a lovely evening. I felt somewhat bad for her because she was alone, but I was happy I'd never have to see her or her nasty toes. That's a whole different story. Again. Am I the jerk for refusing to eat my cousin's cooking after she once tricked me into eating a food she knows I don't like? So, the backstory here is that I don't like cottage cheese. It's not a big deal. I'm not one of those people who always goes on about foods they don't like or hates on others for liking it or anything, but I just happen to not like cottage cheese. This is general knowledge within our family. They're all crazy about cottage cheese, and I always have to remind them to please not serve me any. On this occasion, my cousin wanted to make dinner for everyone at a family gathering. She said she had a new recipe for lasagna that she wanted to try out. While she was cooking, I asked her if she needed any help in the kitchen. She said that she didn't want my help or for me to be in the kitchen at all because the recipe was a family secret from her husband's side of the family. I did notice that she let our other cousin help out despite saying this, but I didn't really think anything of it at the time. So she makes her lasagna, we eat it, and after dinner, she asks me specifically how I had liked the lasagna. I said it was delicious. She got this smug look on her face and shouted, "Ha! It had cottage cheese in it, and you ate it!" I was confused and asked her what she was talking about. She said that she had subbed out the ricotta cheese for cottage cheese and that I hadn't even noticed. I now start thinking about how she kicked me out of the kitchen and asked if that was why she wouldn't let me help in the kitchen, and she said, "Yes, I know you don't like cottage cheese, and I wanted you to eat some, so I didn't want you to know what was in the lasagna." I told her that that was really rude and crappy, and that she basically lied to me about what was in my food. She said it didn't matter what was in it because I liked it. I said that I would have still tried it even if I had known there was cottage cheese. It's a common thing to put in lasagna instead of ricotta, and it's just that I don't like eating cottage cheese straight up by itself. It's fine as an ingredient, so it was extra crappy to lie. She just doubled down that it was funny that she got me to eat cottage cheese and that I liked it. So that was several years ago. Since then, whenever there's a potluck or we get together for holidays or whatever, I won't touch anything that cousin made. I just don't trust her anymore. I'll never know if she put something random in the food to mess with me or as a joke. And honestly, I'm still just generally upset on principle that she tricked me in the first place. Yes, even if the lasagna was good. She recently called me out on this and said I'm being a jerk about it now because the lasagna incident was years ago. Am I the jerk? Edit. I don't make a big deal or say anything about not taking her food, just that I don't serve myself anything that I see her bring to the party. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her cousin? Please let us know. I don't blame you one bit. Tricking people about what's in their food is never funny and can even be very dangerous. No, Karen, I won't let you take my steak. So last year was my mom's 60th birthday. With lockdown, we couldn't do a big party, but instead I did a socially distanced meal for her, my dad, and me. She wanted a steak dinner with all the trimmings. I went down to the supermarket a few days beforehand. Said supermarket has these specialty cut steaks in vacuum packs and a deal of 3 for 10 pounds. I was choosing steaks and noticed a woman close by doing the same and picking up several. I took my 3, put them in the trolley, and moved on. I moved on, got the remainder of my list, even thought of getting wine. I moved away from my trolley while choosing. When I turned back, that customer from before was leaning over my trolley. Me. Hi, this is my trolley. Her. Oh, I know. I'm just taking one of your steaks. Me. Why? I chose those. You were over there too. I saw you pick some up. Right, but I got 14 and I need one more. Me. I have 3. You're not taking one of mine. I deliberately pulled my trolley away from her at this point. Her. You have to. I need it for the multi-deal. Me. And I need it to feed 3 people. No. Her. Red in the face by now. I'll go get a manager then. Go ahead. She runs off and I finish choosing my wine. 5 minutes later, I'm waiting to get checked out when the lady comes over with a manager. She stood back with this smug look I could see through her mask while the manager came over. Manager. Ma'am, this lady says you stole one of her steaks. Is that true? Me. No, I picked up 3 at the freezer and later on found her leaning over my trolley and saying she was going to take one. She said she needs it for the multi-deal. The manager sighed. Ah, I knew it. She does this. I'm sorry to trouble you. Enjoy your day. Me. You too. Good luck with her. The manager sighed again and walked away. As I checked out, I saw him guiding her away from the till points. A few minutes later, I heard a "Security to the meat aisle" announcement as I was leaving. The steaks were lovely, but not worth stealing from someone else's trolley. You're not gonna believe what happens in this video, so please come watch it next and we'll see you when you get there. And we'll give you a special shout out in our next video if you support the channel by joining as a member today. Or if you'd like us to make any kind of video for you, head over to our Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.